Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to a very, I was going to say a very special Down the Slope. It doesn't feel particularly special. We're recording a podcast to really react to the announcement that's gone out this morning that Shaun Maloney has been relieved of his duties as manager of Hibernian FC. I'm joined by some actual special guests. We've got Colin and Matty from Long Bangers fame. Hello, Colin and Matty. And we've got Jeff and Marcus, a couple of our listeners who've also joined. We're really grateful to have them all on the podcast at such short notice. Okay, Marcus, coming to you first of all. Just sum up your initial kind of reaction to the news this morning.
I think we were just saying before we start recording, not what we expected at all, really. Part of the merry-go-round of managers we've had the past years, you've always kind of seen when it's been coming. You've seen it with Lennon, you've seen it with Hickey, and then you could kind of tell in the weeks building up to it that it was coming. But with this, just absolutely not expecting that. Even with the form that we were in, I think we always had faith that he'd be given the summer and then at least the start of next season. But just kind of still gathering my thoughts here. But I don't know. So, thinking about the sort of 5-year plan that Gordon had, I mean, obviously we'll talk about this later, but it leaves a lot to be, I guess, where is it coming from? Where's the direction coming from at the club, I guess, if not from Ken Style or Gordon, what now? Do we hire another young coach who's just as inexperienced, or do we go, or is our thinking going to be to hire someone, I don't know, like a Sean Dyche been put around? I don't think we'll get him, but someone in that kind of a more established manager. What is our direction then if we're just flip-flop back and forth between
good points? Good points, Marcus. Thank you. Matty, you appoint a young, relatively high-profile coach on a long-term contract. Is it naive to think that he's going to be given a little bit longer than 19 games?
No, I don't think it's naive. I think it's maybe naive of the board to expect him to succeed in 19 games. That said, we've not had the season we wanted to have. I mean, bottom 6 for Hibs, you would say is unacceptable. 2 derby defeats in a row feels like it should be unacceptable. Particularly one coming again at Hampden. I think it reeks of Maloney being the fall guy for other people's failings is how it feels at the moment. I don't think the club's particularly well set up at the minute. And I think that Maloney probably needed longer to implement what he needed to do. I'm a bit surprised he got sacked below. If rumours are to believe, the CEO was telling people at a hospitality event leading up to the game that if Maloney didn't win on Saturday, he was getting sacked, which again is not a particularly impressive thing to hear. I don't know how true it is, third-hand information, but if your CEO is going around telling you that, it tells you that things aren't right in the club at the moment. So disappointed that Maloney's gone. I would have liked to have seen him get more time to understand why he didn't, because he's failed, but a bit surprised to get the news today.
Jeff, would you like to have seen Maloney get more time?
Me, yes. I just think that you've given him one transfer window where we sell our best player, our best forward, our best striker. We have a shitload of injuries and suspensions, needless suspensions a lot of the time, but that's just the way it goes. And expect him to turn us around. So I'm shocked. Shocked that I'm not shocked, and that's the American way they do it. You know, Ron is going to be ruthless. He's shown that. I mean, there's been some other departures at the club which worried me. I don't know the full story behind Sue McLennan and people like that. Bleed Hibs leaving the club, so that's a worry. But yeah, absolutely shocked that he's gone after that. We actually put in a good performance, on Saturday. I thought that might keep him till the end of the season and then, make a decision. So I'm disappointed. I don't want Hibs to become the type of club that some other clubs have become. We ditch managers, just like, it must cost us a lot of money as well, which is the worrying thing. We're bottom 6, we're not in Europe, we're losing money, and now we're going to be paying managers off.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worrying trend, certainly the last 2 appointments. Colin, just coming to you next. So first of all, would you mind just summarising, please, how you feel about the news and announcement that's happened today? And then second of all, a couple of the contributors have talked about the 2 derby defeats in a row. Do you think the 2 derby defeats are ultimately just the catalyst for this happening sooner rather than later?
So firstly, amazed or stunned, I think the word was. I was lying in my bed watching TV. I'm on holiday this week, and my phone was buzzing on the charger beside, and I just left it till the phone rang. And I was like, fucking joking. Like, they've sacked him already. That was my reaction. Even though we had heard those rumours that Matthew mentioned earlier for last week, which sounded incredible at the time, but maybe now don't seem incredible. Is a bit of worry. Ironically, I was watching a programme called Billions, which is all about Americans with massive egos, and a wee bit like wondering, like, fucking hell, we're playing it out in real life here. We've lost 2 derbies in a row before. I don't think it is. It's not in the list, is it? The list is to get into European places and to win a cup. It's not to win derbies. Isn't one of the stated objectives that we've heard about. I think Maloney probably saw the writing on the wall, because after the last derby defeat at Tynecastle, he was mentioning we were 7th when I came in, and all of that, almost trying to get his defence in up front. When you look back at it now, at the time I thought it was a wee bit like, oh, why is he saying that? You know, he's trying to protect himself, but obviously felt the need to protect himself at the time. When you look back, it's after actually everybody's been complaining about change of formation. He's not willing to change, and then when he actually does go and change the formation and get a performance out of the team, that's the one that sees the end of him. It seems a bit strange. It's almost like they're saying, no, we want you to stick with that formation that's not working, but we want you to win games with it. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It just feels. I don't know. I'm just amazed that they've done it that quickly. I suppose we're into like the Romanov era at Hearts at the moment, aren't we? That's the going through managers quicker than anything. So
that's where the comparisons are going to be made, isn't it?
Yeah,
is that you know, it's keeping the people around you as well who you perhaps trust or value. And I've seen quite a lot of reaction tweets as you would expect in over the last couple of hours, and there's been a lot of fingers pointed elsewhere. I think it's fair to say Ben Kensel's coming for quite a lot of criticism. I think I would have to say rightly so. Ultimately, it was his appointment. Also, Ron Gordon's son, Ian Gordon, who we know is head of recruitment at the club. Touching on those other individuals, Marcus, just coming back to you. What of those 2 individuals? So Ben Kensel and Ian Gordon, do they have a role to play here as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say about when Gordon, was it the 5-year plan was the wording that Gordon used when he came in. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but he, you like to think he had a plan going forward for where we want to build the club. And then if Kensel and Gordon are part of that, do we have faith that they're going to continue that and we're going to see an upward trajectory from here? Because so far it's not been that. It's been all over the place, really. We're looking at the biggest rebuild we've needed as a club probably in a few seasons. And I don't even know, like, I've got a Hearts pal who's telling me about Joe Savage, for example, the job he's doing there. He's the clear-cut director of football who's got the plan. He's the one, the vision's coming from him basically at the club. Whereas with us, it looks like Ian Gordon's there. It's his first time he's been in a role like that. There's also maybe potentially a bit of nepotism there when being Ron Gordon's son. And it just looks like Kensel's pulling in one direction, Gordon's pulling in another direction. They've got Maloney there who's also saying he's talking to players. It's like the vision for where the squad needs to be isn't coming from that one person like it is at Hearts or maybe other clubs with director of football like Ajax, for example. Like, it's just all over the place, and I don't see where the vision is coming from to take us in that trajectory upward.
Do you know something? I don't mean to interrupt, but see, Marcus, you said they're the biggest rebuild we've needed in years. We didn't even need a big rebuild at the start of the season.
Yeah.
We just needed to add to what we have, and we've created this by yourself. Now needing to sweep the floors and get rid of everything, because it was fine. 3rd place, cup final, cup semi-final last year. We said it wasn't good enough, so the board have reacted to that and now sacked 2 managers on the back of it, and now we've got a squad of 2 different managers, players and we've got a 3rd manager coming in. We've created our own downfall.
Yeah,
interesting parallels with Maloney and Jack Ross sackings. As Jack Ross, I think, did point some criticism towards Graham Matty towards the end of the the transfer window in the way that Maloney did after the Hearts defeat. And it does feel to me as though there's a couple of instances there of maybe the kind of lines of communication not being open and lines of accountabilities not being clear as well in terms of who's responsible for what. This committee process that the club have built for recruitment and for transfers does feel, whilst it maybe sounds quite collaborative on the face of it, like it's maybe muddy in the waters ever so slightly. We've got one of our Downslope regulars has just joined us as well. Harry, welcome. Good to have you. The gents have all reacted to the news of the sacking of Shaun Maloney. I'll just give you the opportunity very briefly just to add your tuppence worth in. What's your thoughts? What's your reactions? Obviously on Saturday you were quite keen to see him go. Now you maybe in the cold light of day have kind of changed your tune. Let's hear from you.
What I'll say is just following on from Colin's parallels between the Jack Ross and the Maloneys sacking. Whilst I was drunk, I definitely wanted Shaun Maloney out the club. Since sobering up, I thought, he did kind of have an absolute, for want of a better word, shitstorm of a season. And then with Jack Ross, when I was drunk, I wanted him sacked. When I was sober, I wanted him sacked. I thought the time was for him to come, so I'm not going to blame them too much for that. However, I couldn't believe it. I just saw in capital letters in the group chat, you and I think was put a message in saying Maloney's gone. I was like, what do you mean Maloney's gone? I thought he might have resigned or something, but it looks like the club's it's honestly absolutely bonkers, I think. And the main problem for me, it was the same as the Jack Ross sacking. I just don't really think there's anybody suitable out there. Like, there's nobody that's screaming out, like, I want him to be the next Hibs manager. So I think unless we get that nutsim boy that you were peddling last time, there's literally nobody out there that I'm thinking I really want them to join the club, which I think's scary because, being honest, I don't think Kensal or Ron Gordon have got a clue of who they want to join the club.
No, it feels that way. Jeff, where do we go? So we've had Jack Ross, who was a relatively experienced manager, and that he'd managed 3 or 4 clubs for being at Hibs. Obviously, that role within the PFA before that as well. We've gone to a younger, very ambitious coach in Maloney. Where do we go next?
I see parallels in the past when we appointed Frank Sawsey, if you remember, and that didn't work out too well as coach. It wasn't given very long. We appointed then Bobby Williamson, who was the safest pair of hands available. I'm hoping we don't go down just a safe pair of hands route again, because Williamson's football, as we all know, was, well, you might not know, but was pretty poor. I sacked my season ticket. So where do we go from here? That's a good question. I'm hoping they've got somebody in mind, to get rid of him with 5 games to go. Who that is, I've no idea. I like the guy, is it the Norwegian, the chap that's been mentioned?
Yeah.
Norwegian coach,
Chettle Knutson,
yeah, but who else is out there? Not in the Scottish game anyway. I've had a quick, look through the candidates. People have mentioned Mackay. No way, not with his baggage. Not the way the club wants to be run. So where do we go from here? Is it a safe pair of hands? I don't think you go down the inexperienced coach first role type thing. We got away with it with Mowbray, who did a good job. Stubbs, that's 2 not bad signings. This one, nah. So I don't know. I worry about Ian Gordon being in charge of player recruitment, or titular head of player recruitment, shall we say, because that's clearly not a happy collaboration with the manager and Ben Kensal. I don't know who's going to win that one. He's the manager's son. Ben Kensal's the chief exec. Fuck knows what's going to happen there. So that's my view anyway. Yeah. I have no idea what's going to happen next. I think that was a short answer.
Matty, same question to you, either structurally or in terms of manager. Where do we go next? Or both?
Manager, no clue. I think we can forget about the Norwegian guy. I think he's way out of our league and our budget, unless Ron Gordon goes absolutely mental with the checkbook, which I can't see. But you look at some of the names that have been touted. I totally agree with you, Jeff. Malky Mackay, no danger. Don't want him anywhere near the club. Kevin Thompson, no. Ian Murray, no.
No.
Do you know Neil Lennon was touted again?
Just anybody that's ever been linked to Hibs, anybody that's ever played for Hibs, or apart from Mackay, whose wife is from down here and is in a Hibs family. Yeah, that's the only link there. But that's the only Hibs link I can see. But it's mad that it's only ever Hibs links that we go for. Like
Yogi.
Well, apart from Maloneys quality.
Aye, or an ex-Celtic player. Aye.
Yeah. So Yogi, no danger Mixu. I mean, it's. There's thousands and thousands of managers out there, and apparently now we have like a more of a global reach. So do we look at another market? Do we look and take a chance on maybe an American or a South American, or do we look to Europe and try to bring in somebody there? It just all feels like a massive roll of the dice, in the same way that Maloneys team selection on Saturday felt like a massive roll of the dice. It feels like we're in that situation again. It looks like there's no clear plan. I don't think that. So we did a special episode on recruitment and Ian Gordon in particular on Sunday night, and since then we've had kind of some people get in touch and say a wee bit more about sort of what Ian Gordon does, and he's much more. If you take that read, he's much more involved in highlighting players than you would probably want somebody with that level of experience to be. It would be akin to one of us going, we watch football all our lives, we're fans, but going into that sort of position and being expected to pick out Martin Boyle's replacement, and we're not skilled enough to do it, and I don't think Ian Gordon is. So I think there's an important decision needs to be made there. I think the director of football type role is one that we should be looking at. And I would be seriously questioning Ben Kensil's role at the moment as well, just because of the general direction that the club has taken. It's like we're having to reevaluate kind of not even every couple of months, but every few weeks now, the nick of the club. Like we've done episodes, and Hibs Talk have done it about kind of where we are, and things have been looking all right for a while, and then just gradually gets worse and worse and worse, and you start being less and less able to kind of justify what's going on. So wholesale changes, it just feels like, like I say, a roll of the dice. It's pretty grim at the minute.
Well, just pretty quickly on Ian Gordon, his marquee signing was Chris Muller. That was the big thing. He identified him. He's going to come in. I've not been that impressed with Chris Muller. I was going to give him till next season, but he looks like he's a player, as in got the skill, but no pace. What does he bring to the team? And that was the big signing from Ian Gordon. That's one he's highlighted. That's a big worry for me.
The thing that's always going to count against Chris Muller, without getting into player specifics, is how long we had to wait on him and just how big a name he felt like we were getting. I think the bar was set at a level that I'm just not sure Chris Muller would ever be able to hit. And the financial financial
the same with Maloney to an extent, though, wasn't it, Liam? Like, I mean, he came in, it was like, we're going to play brilliant football, and we set the expectations got set way ahead of the capability of what he had available to him. Wengery's and who was in the squad, so it was like oversetting the expectations. So we're immediately thinking we'll win the cup and we'll probably finish third, maybe even push Celtic or Rangers for second place. Like it's like fucking hell, calm down.
I've not actually had the chance to listen to you guys' reaction pod yet. Primarily because I haven't signed up on Hubwave yet. I'm too tight to part with the £3 a month. So yet I need to wait till I'm paid.
9 months in, you'll hear it.
No, I will be
next year.
But I'm sure you guys covered this in your reaction pod. One of the things that really struck me about the selection on Saturday was just how few new signings were actually in the starting 11. I think it was only really you and Henderson, who I would probably say was a Shaun Maloney signing, if any of them were a Shaun Maloney signing, given his connection to Celtic. That probably was quite telling in some respects, that he only picked one of the guys that was actually signed in January to play undoubtedly the biggest game of the season. So you do feel in some respects that the recruitment maybe made a little bit of a rod for his own back in some respects. Harry, just coming to you, in terms of the context at the club at the moment, so we've probably got a bit of a job in terms of being able to sell that managerial position to someone, or head coach position to someone. How do we go about attracting and bringing in a new head coach in the current context of the club?
It's quite a brutal one. As Matty was saying, like the international one's an interesting one, but seeing how Aberdeen flopped with Glass after he came over from the MLS, and then I'd love to take a gamble, but after Maloney, I'm not sure how good an idea it would be. I think something that seems to be working in Scottish football though is like big names. I wouldn't mind us taking a punt on, like, I know Greg's going to absolutely love me for it, but a Roy Keane type figure who'll just come in, and anybody, if we put a performance in its lacklustre, you can, they're going to go in and get screamed at. I think that since Lennon, we've not really had someone that'll kind of like an actual leader, because Jack Ross came across as a nice guy who'd kind of be friends with the guys, and then same as Shaun Maloney, like I don't think he's the type of guy that would shout at players. Like it'd be great for, because like there's rumours of unrest and stuff at the training centre and whatnot. Like if Roy Keane was in charge and someone had any form of unrest, I think it would be settled quite quickly.
Roy Keane's never had any unrest in any of the jobs he's had, I don't think, Gary.
He started it all, wasn't it?
He finished it all as well.
I think character's something that I think is huge. I think we need someone that the fans can actually relate to strongly, and we can kind of come in straight away, speak passionately, because as I say, there's not really any suitable candidates. So if at least we've got a name to get excited about, then at least it's something to hold on to. I've honestly, I'm lost. I'm absolutely lost. I was saying before Maloney got sacked, I was scared we were going to kind of fall in a lull of finishing between 5th to 9th for the next 4 or 5 seasons. Now that seems to be even more a concrete reality, to be honest.
Thanks, Harry. Right, okay, we're going to summarise. We're going to finish up. If I could get each of you, and I'll go around each of you in turn, just to give me one name you want and one name you absolutely do not want as the next head coach of Hibernian FC. So, Marcus, I'm coming to you first.
I mean, purely because of the lack of names out there, I'm going to go Kjell Knutson as well for now, but no clue. That's the one name I'm going to say. I like the idea of having a foreign coach that's going to the kind of football that Maloney would have played, supposedly. But and then for one name that I absolutely do not want, I mean, I could list them. There's more that I don't want than ones that I'm really desperate to have at the club. But I guess Malky Mackay, or just anyone previously linked with the club, Lennon, or even since one of my pals was saying get Jack Ross back in, and like that would be nothing like that. No going
back there. Fair enough. Okay, Jeff, one name you want, one name you absolutely don't.
There's a real dearth of names I want out there, guys. So I'm going to throw a real curveball in. Simpson at Carlisle United at the moment. Okay, he came in, they were looking like going to get relegated. He's got them playing football, scoring goals, and the fans love him. And a real front foot kind of coach. He's not a big name. He's big round here because he used to play with Carlisle. Apart from that, you take your pick. Who I don't want, Malky Mackay, Kevin Thompson. I've got a list of ones that don't go down that road, please. Just for the sake of the club. And what we've got to look at is whoever we get in, he's got to have to sell season tickets. Somebody that gets us excited. Obviously, Simpson wouldn't do that, but I can't think of anybody. I'm sorry, guys. There's nobody.
Thanks, Jeff. You're making me feel great about the future. Colin, one name you want, one absolutely don't.
Who I don't want is anybody that has played for Hibs or managed Hibs previously. Just for something, or an ex-Celtic player. Right, well, let's change the direction. So there's a big chunk out of the picture. What about Martin Boyle as a player manager?
Yay!
I'll sell some tickets.
I like how you went from I don't want anybody that's played for the club before to Martin Boyle.
He's not really left, has he?
Brilliant. Well played, Colin.
He's been injured for a wee while.
Matty.
Can't believe I'm being the sensible one for long bangers here after all that. Do you know what? Now that Harry said it, I'd be all for Roy Keane. Just like the madness in the box office. Is that a word? That would be absolutely superb. Just him just going tonto every week. I'd have that any day. Malky Mackay would be my no thanks.
Is it just because of the racism stuff, or is it because?
Yeah.
No, just because.
Based on his CV, Malky Mackay would be the front runner for me. But I think because of his checkered past, I think that rules him out of our club. Yeah, because of WhatsApp. Yeah, or is it? Well, WhatsApp being the vehicle, I think it's his views on the world being the problem. Harry, coming to you just to finish us off. Who do you want to get the job, and who absolutely do you not want to?
I'll start with don't want to. I think that we've got enough people at the club capable of picking up cones, so I don't want Tam Courts as manager. I think that would be a waste of money. However, here's a curveball for you. Here's one. Everybody absolutely adores him, and they literally can't walk down the streets of Edinburgh without about 30 men asking him for a photo. I'd love to see Frank Sozzi back. Just that'd bring in season tickets. Like everybody would love to see him back in charge, because I think most fans think he didn't really get that much of a chance. So yeah, why not bring back Sozzi? I would love to see that.
Well, I'm going to continue to pursue Chilwells, and in the very, very faint chance that it happens, I am going to single-handedly try and get him backed into favourite on every betting website known to man, for no other reason than for a bit of a laugh. In terms of who I don't want, share the sentiment of not wanting Malky Mackay, probably share Colin's thinking in terms of not wanting any kind of someone with Hibs connections or ex-Hibs past or present. But I think the absolute nightmare scenario for me would be someone like a Graham Alexander type appointment, lower league of England, kind of bit of a dull kind of manager, plays pretty dull football. That would be as low as it gets for me, I think, in terms of where we would go next, to be honest. But ultimately, I'm at that point now where we've gone through so many head coaches in such a relatively short space of time that I'm really struggling to get excited about who we do or don't appoint next. So what a lovely, positive, happy vibes note to end us off on. We'll be back later on this week where we review all the semi-final shenanigans, and we'll be looking ahead to the game against St Mirren too. Thanks very much to Jeff, to Marcus for joining us, to Colin and Matty from Long Bangers, and of course from our very own four-eyed friend Harry. Nice one. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.